welcome to our interview with the lovely Emily, who is one of our mentors for Museum Week. So she will be offering, or rather mentoring, the course Introduction to Museology. And yeah, she has a very impressive CV. She has degrees from both the University of Aberdeen and also the University of Victoria. And yeah, Emily, please tell us about yourself. What do you do day to day? What does a day in the life of a museum curator look like?
Hi, like Inez said, I'm a museum curator here in Victoria, BC, which is in Canada. I started doing the Introduction to Museology course a year and a half ago now, I would say. I started that when I was working at the Souk Region Museum, which is a local history museum. So I was kind of using that experience in my museology course. After that, I sort of developed my museum experience more by becoming involved with the Conservation Officer Service, which is an environmental organization here in BC. They asked me to curate an exhibit based on their history going back over 100 years now. So I've just been developing a museum and sort of developing my museum CV. So this was great after, like Inez said, I had a museum degree and I have an English literature degree.
That is perfect. And how do you kind of incorporate all of this into your course? What can people also look forward to the course that you will be mentoring? Because as some of you may know, the Introduction to Museology course was one of the most popular courses last year, and we're very happy to be bringing it back again this year.
I think what's going to be different about this Introduction to Museology compared to last year is that we are sort of after dealing with changes in the pandemic, what the pandemic did to the museum sphere. Last year, I was kind of reacting to the pandemic as I was doing this course. So I was kind of trying to incorporate it into the course in terms of museums going online and museums trying to be more social and sort of all the museums closing. But this time around, I think I have a better handle on how museums react to sort of global changes like that. And yeah, like the Black Lives Matter thing too, just sort of encouraging museums to become more neutral and sort of engage with conversations like that.
Okay, awesome. Do you think that the pandemic has kind of made museums a bit more accessible to people who previously would not have been able to access museums across the world? For example, I'm just thinking off the top of my head here, but if you go onto Google Maps and you go onto the British Museum, you can actually walk through some of the exhibits, which me living in South Africa previously would not have been able to do, considering that the British Museum is in the UK. So do you think that that makes it more inclusive?
I think definitely, like you said, you mentioned the British Museum. I think that the British Museum was one of the first museums to sort of adapt that viewing their collections online. I think I did bring a little bit of the British Museum into my course last year, but now there's way more online exhibits to explore. And I think also a lot of museums, in addition to putting their collections online, they're sort of video recording themselves online and sort of doing walkthroughs of the museum. So sort of adapting to different ways like that.
Okay, and then with regard to Museum Week, do you think that the digital landscape has kind of given us more power over promoting it? And do you think, or how do you think people who are, for example, not within the paleosciences or history or museum fields can get involved with this?
I think definitely online spaces give places for museums to sort of expand their reach. Like during the pandemic on social media, I noticed a lot of people were posting old photos of museums. So the museums they would have gone to, they're still getting that exposure, even though you can't actually go to the museums. And in terms of people outside paleontology and things like that, I actually have an English degree, so that's kind of not related to museums, but I still find myself, you know, through my writing, using social media in that way. Like my blog, I write about museums in my blog, and I write about creative things on my blog. So I think just using your creative skills online is good. Just sort of branding yourself. Like, I don't know, I can't speak to like business degrees or things like that, but I think, yeah, maybe marketing to get yourself onto museums, just any way you can kind of brand yourself and own your skills.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it is so important that we do make these things accessible, not just for an exclusive or a niche set of people. We need to make this more inclusive. We need to make everyone understand why our cultural heritage is so important and why it should be preserved. So, on that note, where can people learn more about Museum Week and how can they get involved?
Well, the first thing I would say to promote this organization, go to the Save Cultural Heritage group, YouTube, Instagram, things like that. They have a lot of information. And also the International Council of Museums, which is the overarching organization that's sort of running this. So, yeah.
Okay. What is your favorite thing currently about Museum Week? Like, how do you kind of get yourself psyched for it? What makes you keen to partake in it?
Um, on my social media, I always participate in things like that because I always find being specific and what you're posting, especially in museums, is great because it sort of keeps people engaged and something to look forward to, I think. Um, Personally, I enjoy posting about these things because the museum community on social media is very engaging and they're very receptive to anything you would post on there. And that's why I'm very active on social media, because I enjoy the interactions I have. And that's sort of what I look forward to, the different interactions and the other stories I read about.
Yeah, definitely. So, if people were to follow you on social media, where can they find you?
Um, I'm on most social media as Museums and Emily. I think all my social media is under that name now. I'm on Twitter, um, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, like you said.
Okay, awesome. Obviously, TikTok is a very new platform. And if you're a millennial like myself, not like our assistant director, Janice, sorry, Janice, I'm throwing you under the bus. But if you're a millennial like myself, TikTok is a fairly new thing. So, what kind of content would you say you post on TikTok as opposed to Instagram? Like, what makes the two platforms different, and why should people follow you on both?
I'm still learning TikTok as well. I'm also a millennial, so it's kind of new to me too. Um, I think the difference in TikTok is that the first thing I heard about TikTok is that anybody can go viral on TikTok. You don't need to have a huge following or be a hugely influential person for people to actually see what you're posting on TikTok. So I really like that. And for me, I also love it because the short videos, the short ways you can present messages, it's just sort of, you say what you're going to say and be done with it. There's no beating around the bush. I love that about TikTok as well.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with you. I think also it's important to engage with the younger generations. We love you, Janice, very, very much. Anyways, so yes, we also recently got a TikTok. We are slowly but surely getting used to posting on it. So if you would also like to go follow us, we are on the Save Cultural Heritage group on TikTok. We are the official page. And then lastly, Emily, if someone wanted to become a museum curator, what advice would you give them? So it's, for example, someone who's not just finished school, they just started university. What modules should they take, and in what mindset should they kind of be in?
I think just starting university is a great place to start. Um, Volunteering in museums, the biggest thing I would say is volunteer in museums, maybe maybe if you have like an archaeology department, see if you can go on excavations or something like that, like just sort of participate in any way you can. That's something I kind of wish I did, because when I started university, I was studying English, so I wasn't in the museum field at all yet, and I didn't think about this. And after I finished my degree in English, I sort of thought museums as a career, but what I needed was volunteer experience and just experience in general. And I think museums will accept volunteer positions.
Yeah, definitely. I think also any type of internship experience would be good. But other than that, I think if you're considering going into the museum job direction, then you need to definitely register for Emily's course. That will happen a bit later this year. So thank you so much for joining us for our Museum Week chat, Emily. We really appreciate you being here and giving us your insights, and also just, making it accessible for anyone who isn't, archaeologist, historian, or those fields. So thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.